if your ex has an avoidant attachment style, a little bit like my cat, and doesn't want to connect, doesn't want intimacy, and build a relationship and being close to each other, he really wants to leave. In this video, I'm going to share with you the triggers that push avoidance to leave a relationship. Jingle.
IGetMyExBack.com. Everyone deserves a second chance.
First one is the fear of engulfment. The idea that they need space, they need their personal space, they need independence. And maybe throughout the relationship, you felt that it was hard for them to get that space. It was hard for you to let them have this space. And perhaps as the relationship evolved, you requested more of their time, requested more of their space, and that triggered them. So again, what they perceive, and I'm going to underline perceive a lot because it's really subjective, they perceive a loss of autonomy. They perceive that if I'm in a relationship, I can't do whatever I want. I need to compromise on the things that I like the most. And that triggered that feeling of being suffocated or overwhelmed. And so in that context, avoidant would leave to regain a sense of self. When they're in a relationship, they can't be themselves anymore and they need to leave. By the way, if you, and it's a perception, if you feel, if you have an anxious attachment style, for example, and if you feel you're not yourself dating that person, it's also a sign that this relationship is not meant for you. The whole point of attachment theory and working with a therapist to be more secure is to learn how to have healthy expectation when it comes to relationship. And for instance, if you're dating someone who doesn't want you to stay at their place and you've been together for 10 years, that's not a healthy pattern. That's not a healthy relationship, and it's expected. You have the right to expect to spend more time with that person, for example. So it's really finding the right balance. And if you find yourself stretching too much because you have an anxious attachment style and you want to make it work at all costs, ask yourself the question whether that's the right decision for you. Sometimes we can learn a lot with the opposite attachment than ours. I learn a lot about anxious attachment people because I'm a former avoidant. And the same, if you have an anxious attachment style, you can learn a lot about avoidant. Second one is obviously emotional avoidance. Avoidant people, they really struggle with emotional intimacy. And so it's very uncomfortable and overwhelming sometimes when we request them to engage at a deeper level emotionally. And they perceive that these demands are too extreme. They ask for too much. They don't know. And it's not because they don't care, it's just that they don't know. Before I went through therapy, it was very hard for me to express my feelings, to understand, who was in tune with how I felt, because I was so good at dismissing those emotions and not dealing with those emotions. And I thought that was a superpower, that when it was my time to discuss those things with my partners, for example, it was extremely hard. And you could come across as someone who doesn't care when in reality, they don't know. And so they leave to avoid this emotional vulnerability. There's also this idea that being emotional is a weakness. It's the opposite of being strong. And so sometimes people who are avoidant, they have this belief system. I used to have this belief system. I'm a machine in a way. And I operate better if I don't have emotions. Boys don't cry kind of mindset. That's why a lot of guys of my generation and older generation have been avoidant, because they've been told boys don't cry. We don't look at emotions. Statistically, there are also women who are avoidant, but it's true that this boy don't cry can also be, the outcome could be creating avoidant attachment style. Third one, obviously, the fear of commitment. They have this deep-seated fear of commitment. If I commit to the relationship, then I'm in prison. I can't be myself anymore. The loss of freedom. Avoidant, they value freedom, self-reliance. It's at the top of their Maslow pyramid in a way. And so when you discuss commitment, long-term commitment, when the relationship starts to evolve, sometimes they feel pressure or trapped. And so the reason they leave is that they want to preserve this sense of freedom. And so you could be, I'm going to list the other elements. So this is one of those triggers, and there are many triggers. And maybe it's a combination. It's usually a combination of those triggers. So have a look. And actually, let me know in the comment section. Let's use this video this way. Let me know in the comment section which ones do you feel like your partner was triggered, whether it was 1, 2, or 3, whether it was all of them. I want to know. It would be good to use this video to know a little bit more about your experience and learn from each other in the comment section. Fourth one is difficulty with trust. So this one is more about how they perceive relationship in the past. Avoidant people, their ways, their working model, their internal working model is around the fact that I can't trust others, therefore I need to rely on myself. That's why they put self-reliance really at the top of their value. The idea that if I trust someone, they will betray me, they will disappoint me. And so very often avoidant, they are very skeptical about relationship. They are able to love, but they don't see in a way the value of it. They don't see the benefit. Sometimes they feel like it's creating more problem than benefit. And so the reason they live sometimes is with this idea of trust, and because they have this protective mechanism. I need to leave before I get hurt. And that's something that stems from past relationships and potentially, usually from childhood experiences. It doesn't have to be traumas, but it's just the idea that I expected my parents to support me, they didn't. And so this is how I read relationship. I can't get people to support me. I can't rely on people. I need to rely on myself. And therefore it's very hard for me to trust you. Fifth one is emotional distancing. And so very classic way is when things get serious, they usually have this distance. They don't want to confront things. Anxious people will want to confront, they will want to answer, they want to discuss. The way avoidant deal with that, they will sort of retract from the conversation. Again, it's a protective mechanism. All of these are protective mechanisms, things that worked for them so far, that works for them in the context of their relationship with their parents, for example. Otherwise, they wouldn't continue to do that. But they felt like, okay, being self-reliant, having my freedom made me feel secure. That's how I created my security. And so emotional distancing, they live to regain a sense of control. Very often, a breakup is a power struggle, is the result of a power struggle where we want to control. The anxious person wants to control the environment because they don't want to get hurt, they don't want to get disappointed, they don't want to get cheated on. And the avoidant, they want also to control their life. They want to do whatever they want. They want to go golfing on Sunday if they want to go golfing. They want to go sleeping at their place if they want to go sleeping at their place, and so on and so forth. And so very often we find people who have an anxious avoidant dynamic it's actually a power struggle where we want to control different aspects of the relationship, and we can't communicate properly of what we want to control because there's always fear behind that, things that are unconscious. So how to get them back? Before I explain those points, I want to remind you that there's a quiz for you to know if you have any chance of getting back with your ex. It takes into account your attachment style as well, and it gives you a score. The idea of this test is not to guarantee that you're going to get back with your ex. I can't guarantee it, and if someone does, then you should doubt their abilities and look at their certification. The point is to really exclude cases where actually sometimes we in denial of the possibilities that we can get back together or the possibility that it's not going to happen. This quiz is really made for you to gain more clarity, and also when you receive the results, you'll get some tips and some recommendations based on your score. So a few tips to recover. Reflect on the past relationship. Really use that time to understand how you can change some of those patterns. Obviously, you need to give them space and time. That's why you have to go no contact at some stage. They need that space, they need that time. You also need that space and you also need that time. For me, no contact, from my point of view as a therapist, this is the best framework for people to finally reflect on the past relationship, to finally focus on themselves, focus on personal growth, which is the other point. It's also important to know about effective communication, how to communicate effectively with your partner, away from fear, away from anger, away from resentment. Then it's about building trust and emotional safety. The purpose of this video is not to detail all of this. You can have a look on my portal. There's a course detailing with hours of content on this if you want to be more secure, if you want to get back with someone who's avoidant, where you have like a workbook, videos, anything that you would want to deepen your understanding. You can also contact me. There's a link to book a call with me if you want to discuss your situation in more detail. In those cases, I would highly recommend, if you feel stuck, to seek professional help. It doesn't have to be with me. I'm not the only therapist online, but find someone you can trust. Book a call with them, discuss with them your problem, see if you're a good fit, determine an action plan and work with that person. Commit to work with that person for a few weeks. That will be a massive investment in your well-being, in your life, in your future. And again, it doesn't have to be with me. I don't care. I'm not going to be jealous if you pick someone else. But it's very important because sometimes people, they're hesitant. They don't know whether it's going to help them. Trust me, that's not the reason going through therapy is so popular. It's because it works. The state you're in right now, those questions that you have, you shouldn't stay like this for weeks and months. So often I have people calling me and they've been stuck in this relationship, stuck trying to figure out what to do for months and months and months and months. I don't want you to be in that case. Take action. Again, me or anyone else, but take action. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye. Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer.